MAGA star Russell Brand has officially been charged in the UK with rape and sexual assault. We'll look at the details of those charges here in a moment and then get to the video, sort of bizarre video that Russell Brand posted in the aftermath responding to this news. Of course, as we go through this, he is innocent until proven guilty. And also, we'll talk about some of why even his MAGA compatriot, Megyn Kelly, amid all of the MAGA defense of Russell Brand, this must be a witch hunt, and this must be the deep state trying to take down Russell Brand because telling the truth. That whole thing, and we'll talk about that phenomenon, just the knee-jerk defense of anyone who has allegations, if they're on the right, brought against them. But Megyn Kelly, back when these originally surfaced, broke with that crowd and said, there's some concerning stuff there, and we'll talk about the details that she brought up there. PBS reports British police on Friday charged Russell Brand with rape and sexual assault following an 18-month investigation sparked when 4 women alleged they had been assaulted by the controversial comedian. London's Metropolitan Police Force said Brand faces 1 count of rape, 1 count of indecent assault, 1 of oral rape, and 2 of sexual assault. Brand, of course, is denying engaging in non-consensual sexual activity. For more information, we'll jump over to People. In September 2023, The Times, The Sunday Times, and Dispatches published and revealed an investigation in which 5 women, 4 of whom remained anonymous, including one 16-year-old, accused the forgetting Sarah Marshall actor of rape, sexual assault, and physical and emotional abuse. The outlets reported that the incidents allegedly transpired between 2006 and 2013. One of the women alleged that she was 16 at the time, while Brand was 30. On their first date, she said he allegedly asked her age, saying, "I don't give an F if you're 12. I need to know where I stand legally." Another unidentified woman detailed how Brand orally raped her after his 31st birthday, claiming he forced his penis down my throat. "It was just choking me and I couldn't breathe, and I was pushing him away and he wasn't backing off at all. I ended up having to punch him really hard in the stomach to get him off. I was crying and he said, 'Oh, I only wanted to see your mascara run anyway.'" And then another, Nadia, alleges that when she arrived, Brand emerged from the bedroom naked and began kissing her, which was kind of fun. And then it wasn't that fun when I couldn't move or I knew what he wanted from me at that point. He pushed me up against the wall. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I have a friend here and I want you to come in the bedroom." I'm like, "No, that's not happening. We're not doing that." Nadia said she tried to get away from him and moved to another wall, but he followed her, and at this point, he's grabbing at my underwear, pulling it to the side. I'm telling him to get off of me, and he won't get off. Nadia claims Brand raped her without a condom. She couldn't move and only thought about how I'm going to get out of here alive, basically. And then this is a really damning part of this. At 3:29 a.m., Brand sent Nadia a text message saying, "I'm sorry, that was crazy and selfish. I hope you can forgive me. I know that you're a lovely person, X." And he tried phoning her at 3:51 a.m., but the call went unanswered. The Times said it had verified the number sending the messages with multiple sources. Later that day, Nadia describes being taken by a friend to the rape treatment center at UCLA's Santa Monica Medical Center. A decade on, she decided to speak out after learning of the Times investigation into Brand's alleged abuse against multiple women. So that details some of the allegations, and then some of those have been now being criminally prosecuted, as Brand is claiming this is all fabricated against him. That last story, him texting her, apologizing, and her going to get treatment post-rape, is a part of what pushed Megyn Kelly over the edge to say, I don't know why MAGA's just knee-jerk saying this must be a witch hunt. But again, he'll get to defend himself in court, so we'll see how that goes. What's upsetting is that often MAGA just moves the goalpost. So this media report comes out, and they say, that's total nonsense. They're smearing him because he tells the truth. Call me when there's criminal charges. Now criminal charges have been brought. Still, it's a witch hunt. And then if there were to be a conviction, they'd probably stick with the same sort of talking points. But again, there's going to be a trial that's going to play out, presumably, and the evidence on both sides will be brought forward, and we'll see. But he said this in response to it.
Hello. Firstly, thank you for these incredible and overwhelming messages of support. We're very fortunate in a way to live in a time where there's so little trust in the British government. We're very fortunate, I suppose, that this is happening at a time where we know that the law has become a kind of weapon to be used against people, institutions, and sometimes entire nations that will not accept and tolerate levels of corruption that are unprecedented. I'm speaking particularly to those of you that are watching this in the UK. How do you feel about your legal system right now? How do you feel about some of the high-profile cases that are not being pursued and prosecuted? How do you feel that the Southport murders were handled? How do you feel about the government of Keir Starmer?
What does this have to do with your allegations? It's so obvious obfuscation.
Now, that's just sort of general context. I've always told you guys that when I was young and single, before I had my wife and family, who were just out of shot over there, my beautiful children, I was a fool, man. I was a fool before I lived in the light of the Lord. I was a drug addict, a sex addict, and an imbecile. But what I never was a rapist. I've never engaged in non-consensual activity. I pray that you can see that by looking in my eyes. I want to thank all of you for your continuing support. I want to let you know.
If I were casting a cult leader for a movie, I would totally do him. Also, I'm not saying he did it, but I think that he did. But I'm not saying he did, but I think that he did. I'm just giving you my take. I'm not a prosecutor. That would be my take, okay? My thought on this, based on what I just watched, and what we have read and the other details. But what a weird way to defend yourself. You know, I've done some crazy things. Why do you have to add that? Like, if I got accused of rape, my response would be, that's absolutely insane. Because all I've ever done in sexual encounters is respect people's consent. I wouldn't caveat it with, listen, I've done some crazy stuff in the bedroom, okay? I've been degenerate. But I didn't rape anyone, per se. It's just kind of a weird defense. And then if you put this back on the screen, you go, what the heck? Why are you out at the beach with a hat on? Hey everybody, Russell Brand here. They're saying that I raped. I'm drinking pina coladas. Don't let the world bring it down, queens. Get back at it. What? Take this serious? Why do I see enough chest to land a plane on? Put your shirt on. What are you doing? You're accused of rape. Oh, what this whole, and people are going, yes, Russell, save Russell, free Russell. Again, under the law, innocent till proven guilty. Of course, I respect that principle a ton. And this is not helping your case, Russell.
Know that our show will be on Rumble on Monday. Thanks for your support there. And of course, I'm now going to have the opportunity to defend these charges in court, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. In the meantime, you lot, stay free. And we will be continuing to discuss this matter.
Let me show you, actually, if you'll take that down, Cole. Let me just, because it's been a while since we've played any Russell Brand videos. But speaking of cult leader, whenever I've clicked on these videos, he starts them all in a very culty way. Let's see if he still does it.
When you really dig into Epstein, his entire network was...
Release your hands, pipe!
When you really dig...
Okay, here we go.
Do you want those Epstein files? Are we ever going to get these Epstein files? Is it the daddy of all conspiracy theories? Who are these people on the Epstein files? Are they just innocent partygoers that like a bit of fun, or are they the world's worst occultist pedophiles? Why is this information being so guarded? Does it...
Pedophiles. Pedophiles. Interesting pronunciation. Okay, he doesn't do it anymore. He used to go something like, hello, all of you awakening wonders.
Hello there, you 5.9 million awakening wonders. Thank you for joining me on this voyage towards truth, where the light within us is nurtured, acknowledged, recognized, and brought forth.
It was so weird. We can plug that in post for y'all to see from his old videos. But back to this. So let me just quickly say, again, going back to if I were accused of something of this gravity, every part of my being would be so infuriated and confused because I would know it was false. And I would then be thinking, okay, how do I show people? Because that is partly what you would kind of have to do, right? Show people how seriously you're taking it and how much you refute these things. And let's just, because I find this stunning, listen again to his response to criminal charges after an 18-month investigation, after an extensive media investigation.
Hello. Firstly, thank you for these incredible and overwhelming messages of support.
Who's sending those? I need to get their information. Not really. Kidding.
We're very fortunate in a way to live in a time where there's so little trust in the British government. We're very fortunate, I suppose, that this is happening at a time where we know that the law has become a kind of weapon to be used against people, institutions, and sometimes entire nations that will not accept and tolerate levels of corruption that are unprecedented. I'm speaking particularly to those of you that are watching this in the UK. How do you feel about your legal system right now? How do you feel about some of the high-profile cases that are not being pursued and prosecuted? How do you feel that the Southport murders were handled? How do you feel about the government of Keir Starmer? Now, that's just sort of general context. I've always told you guys.
That's called poisoning the well.
When I was young and single, before I had my wife and family, we were just out of shot over there, my beautiful children, I was a fool, man. I was a fool before I lived in the light of the Lord. I was a drug addict, a sex addict, and an imbecile. But what I never was a rapist. I've never engaged in
I have never identified as a rapist. I raped, but I didn't identify that way. Okay, I was a sex addict. I wasn't a rapist. I mean, I would do things without people. It's very serious. Just crazy.
The Lord. I was a drug addict, a sex addict, and an imbecile. But what I never was a rapist. I've never engaged in non-consensual activity. I pray that you can see that by looking in my eyes. I want to thank.
Look in my eyes. What do you see? Tell me what you see. Look in my eyes. Are these the eyes of a rapist? Are these the eye? This is a man who was a fool, who did things sexually that your mind could not possibly fathom. I was a fool. I was an imbecile. But look in my eyes. Do I look like a rapist? A little bit. Well, my goodness, Russell. And just last thing, why are you in front of the beach? It's all wrong. He's on like a beach vacation, just living it up. That's so off. Okay, I mentioned Megyn Kelly. Let me show you Megyn Kelly, who's gone so wacky in so many ways, where I think she just saw my path to relevance is going back to MAGA after Trump was disgusting to me and all that. But on this, she said, what is the deal with MAGA just knee-jerk defending? This is back when the allegations a year or two ago originally came out, before the criminal charges. Why are we just defending Russell Brand blindly?
Well, you guys, I realize that the knee-jerk instinct now by so many is Russell Brand is wrongly accused. These women are all liars. I'm sorry, this is extremely detailed. And in the case of the other woman, there's an actual set of medical records after she went to a rape crisis center the day of the alleged encounter, plus apologetic, begging for forgiveness text from Russell Brand. Could you please, for a second, stay open-minded to the possibility that the women are telling the truth? We don't need to so overcorrect from the Me Too movement that every woman gets completely disregarded and called a liar when she finds the guts to come forward and make an allegation. They may be telling the truth. It's worth investigating. We don't need to knee-jerk condemn him, and we don't need to knee-jerk condemn them. I'm just pissed because what I've seen is like a rash of guys coming out to be like, it's bullshit. You don't know whether it's bullshit or not. Did you read the report of this woman? Did you read the alleged rape details? Did you read the text message that she has from Russell Brand begging for forgiveness? There's at least enough for us to want more facts. That's it.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm very ill. But yes, that is the correct take. Wait, we're just going to now, with Andrew Tate, with Russell, with Trump, that's where it all started too. Not all started. There was sort of a backlash to Me Too. But then Trump got accused of all this stuff. So then they went, oh, that's a witch hunt. And now they do it with everything. And even though it's ridiculous when they do it with Trump, at least he's actually really consequential. So you could imagine it's wrong, but you could imagine that powerful forces would want to keep the powerful man weakened through allegations, right? That conspiracy theory is baseless, but is compelling to a mind that wants to believe it, okay? But Russell Brand, you really think the deep state would be able to go fabricate all that stuff about the texts and the medical records and the statements from these women, and then you're going to get the deep state to get the British police involved so that they could prosecute him? For what? Most people don't know who Russell Brand is. I mean, it's a really big leap to go, oh yes, this criminal conspiracy to frame him, it must be all false because they just have to stop Russell Brand. Russell Brand? I think there would be other right-wing media figures that would need to be stopped earlier than Russell Brand. Hello, my awakening wonders sort of cult leader thing going on there. It's a thought. David Pakman said, MAGA jumping to Russell Brand's defense now that he's been charged with multiple sexual assault crimes is quite telling. This is the post-Trump effect. MAGA doesn't just tolerate scandal anymore, it celebrates it. Yeah, I mean, that's what we see. If you're a MAGA man and you get accused of terrible things, we're not saying you have to jump to say, throw him in jail. Let due process play out, and then give him the appropriate, either freedom or accountability, legal accountability sentence, depending on what the facts bring forward and the jury determines. But y'all jumping to assume it must be fabricated is twisted, and you do it with everyone. Again, I referenced Andrew Tate. That's been a big thing. And now we're seeing with Russell Brand. Disturbing stuff. Share your thoughts in the comments.